Hello everyone and welcome back to the Railway Shed. And though it's been a year, I'm finally back for another instalment of the Layout Logs, the series in which I document the progress happening on my layout. Now, it's been a little bit of a slower year for the layout in terms of development, having not very much time with GCSEs now going into sixth form, as well as things like the extreme heat in the summer making it practically impossible to stay down here longer than half an hour. But now the weather's cooling down slightly and I've got more time to make updates and changes and developments to the layout. So if you enjoy what you're seeing on the channel at the moment, and if you've got any ideas of what you'd like to see next, please be sure to comment, like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss anything else that comes. So without any further ado, let's have a look firstly at the most developed part of the layout over the past year, which has been the narrow gauge section. As I said, it's the narrow gauge section of the layout that's had the most development over the past few months. So let's have a look around what's changed, what's new and what's coming in the future. The first thing of note is the new station that I've recently scratch built for the layout. This is built out of cardboard and Metcalf sheets, as well as pieces from the old layout, like the fences and the shrubs. The police box over there was a new addition that I found for about £6 and I'm quite happy with. Definitely adds a bit of character to the platform. The figures are also from the old layout and I think perfectly suit what I'm trying to go for with the railway, being a narrow gauge railway that akin to something like the Tallaght. The station has a passing loop, so eventually when I get more locos and rolling stock, I'm able to store one train in the station or one train fueling up at any given time. Coming out of the station is where we come to the mine entrance. This will look a bit different in the future, but right now is a short tunnel to keep things like rolling stock in place and out of sight when I haven't got enough storage in the yard, which will be built soon. Following along is this large polystyrene mountain that me and my dad built over the summer with lumps of polystyrene and plaster cloth. Up there is an abandoned Hornby Scaledale building which I got at the Bluebell Railway at their branch line gala for £11. That building there at one point was going to be the engine shed, but I think it's too far out of scale, so I might have to find somewhere else to put it. Moving along the mountainside, the railway curves in and back round, but before that, here will eventually be an old sort of conveyor line to the standard gauge track. Here, the old tipper wagons, which I bought when I first got into 009, can be displayed in a way that shows that there used to be a way to transport the slate from what would be the quarry from this, in my imagination, down to the standard gauge engines for delivery. There will also be a bit more shrubbery round this side, eventually, when it's all painted and detailed up. It may be slightly difficult to see, but the track does extend all the way round and is now in a full loop. Once it gets to this point, there's a small junction which eventually will take it off to the narrow gauge yards. I'm still waiting on some fish plates, however, to come in so I can finish it. Going along the line, there's a large straight section, and then we go into my first dabble of scenery, being this wooded section, which here will have the railway's yards, that longer siding being for coaching stock, and the shorter one being for the locomotive sheds. As you can see here, we've already got the static grass applied, and some whiter ballast, reminiscent of the narrow gauge ballast in the TV series. These are also trees from the old layout, and I think they blend in quite well here, especially mixing the different heights and varieties. I think overall that this area, especially with the slate detailing, these bits of slate being from the Tallaght when I visited for Audrey Extravaganza 5, are looking really nice. Now, all the static grass isn't all set just yet, so I'm a bit hesitant to run the engines on it, but I will give you some running footage of Rheneas in this video. But overall, yes, this is a very nice section of the layout and has definitely inspired me to do more of the scenery for the layout. And there is a big spider there. That of course brings us back round to the main station, which gives us a nice blend of multiple things you'd see on a typical Welsh narrow gauge railway. That being the more cliff side and mountain side, which you'd expect further up the line, and a more plainer scenery side with grass and the trees, both of which I think are incredibly important to this type of railway. It should also be noted that the rolling stock that I've recently acquired for Renéus to actually pull are models of the Talaclin Railway coaches 1 or 2. Of course the layout here isn't based off Talaclin, but it has heavy inspiration from some of the aspects of the scenery there. And when I was at Audrey Extravaganza 5, I was lucky enough to ride in one of the original coaches, so I thought they'd look lovely behind Renéus. If you'd like to see the review of the coaches in the future, be sure to let me know down below, as it's something I'd be interested in making if you want to see it. Another area not previously seen in the last videos is the town scene. These are 2 second-hand Metcalfe half-rise buildings that I purchased at the Nene Valley Railway, I think, when I visited there earlier this year to see Flying Scotsman. It also uses the same sort of card that I used on the narrow gauge platform to make a street. This of course will have more work done in the future to make it look a lot nicer, but for now I think is looking quite nice. The different coloured houses and shops definitely give the layout a bit more character. This will be a bit more wooded up, and of course Sir Topham won't be there. There'll also be a sort of fence area here to block off access to the railway line, because I don't think it'd be necessarily safe to put a train track next to a road without any protection. A final area that's faced a bit more development in the recent months compared to before is the small industrial yard, which I'm not sure what purpose is going to be yet. Right now you can see on the siding I've got an old Lima Class 33 that I picked up at the Greatest Gathering, which runs okay but does need some work attending to. It's also got the Network Rail Land Rover, which looks quite good there, and a larger works building in the back, which I also got with the other 2 Metcalfe buildings second hand. I'm not 100% what to do here yet, and I don't particularly want to overcrowd it with track, so if you've got any ideas, please let me know. Perhaps a bit briefer of a look at the layout today, but hopefully, now that the weather is the way it is and I've got more time on my hands, I'll be able to make more developments to the layout which warrant more videos like this more than once a year, because this channel and this layout does mean a lot to me, and it truly does mean a lot that you give me this continued support even when I'm not necessarily too consistent with uploading. It's definitely a dream of mine to grow this channel to as big as it can be and reach out basically to as many people as I can with this hobby, as it's something I really enjoy doing. So thank you very much for watching. I do really appreciate it. And before I go, I'll leave you with some footage of some of the engines running around on the layout. Have a great day everyone, and I'll see you in my next video.